I am David Davis, owner and founder of All Veteran Disability Claims, and I just want to welcome you. Thank you for signing up. Thank you for taking this step. I know it's not always the easy step, especially if you don't know the company that you're signing up with. Be assured, basically, that I'm one of you, right? I'm not a VSO. I'm not a lawyer or an accredited agent or anything like that. What that means for you is that I can't file your claim for you, but who I am is a veteran. Right? I'm a veteran that has gone through many of the same things that you've gone through. I am a veteran that struggled with the VA disability claim process for many years, as well as my wife struggled with the process for many years until I got information, insight, and understanding. And that'll be the first thing I tell you right there, is that this information is available. It's out there. You can figure it out on your own. You can read it. 38 CFR Part 4 goes into explaining what the actual disability ratings are. And ultimately, you can get through this process on your own. You don't have to, but you can do it on your own. A lot of this information I learned by trial and error. I learned from working with another company myself. I learned by working in another company. And I'm successful now because of the mistakes that I've made early on. And so ultimately, when it comes down to it, you don't have to make the mistakes that I made, right? So what we do is we put you through a process. There's a process to actually filing and winning your claim. And we want you to come out in a way that is going to be successful for you. What that looks like is education. We're going to educate you on what the VA is looking for. We're going to educate you on how to be able to explain your own claim, your own information, your own symptoms. When I first got out of the military, I got out of active duty back in 2006, and I struggled with this process, to say the least. And you can tell me if any of this sounds like you. Gave them all my medical documentations, things that I thought were obvious, and went in, was like, yep, doc, this is the situation. Yep, my shoulder hurts. Had shoulder surgery on it. And you can hear the popping in it when I go like this. My back hurts. I got sleep apnea, experienced these different things. That's a lot of stuff. My rating back within probably the next month or so, maybe a little bit longer. And what that rating says is, here's 10%. And everything else that I filed, sleep apnea, it didn't matter what it was that I filed, because I didn't know what I was doing. When I was denied, I was like, man, it's messed up. I think a couple more times, and it was denied some more. I still didn't know what I was doing. And so I gave up. And fast forwarding again, many years later, I went through financial hardships, had some struggles, had some injuries. Ultimately, I had 3 jobs. I was a reservist. I was a firefighter in the civil service. I worked for a pizza delivery place. I worked as a bellhop in one of the resorts in Sandestin, Florida. I worked as FedEx delivery person for Christmas. I worked at Sears. I did all of these different things on top of being a firefighter. School full time, trying to figure out something to make it better for my family. And there was nothing. Along, my injuries were getting worse. My shoulder, I had to have a second surgery for my shoulder. Mental health was struggling, especially having to go through all of that different stuff as well. And I was just going downhill, basically. I got injured in the fire department again, and not thankfully, but even that, it was a struggle. Everything was a struggle. All of that was my fuel to, 1, figure this thing out, 2, get whatever help that I needed to get, just go through this process, right? I failed a few more times with information and even help. And now I am 100% PNT. It turns out that my symptoms and my injuries were actually associated with the military. And my symptoms were at the level to where I should have been 100% almost 15 years ago. But the whole thing is, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to explain my symptoms. I didn't know what they were asking me or why they were asking me the questions they were asking me. I didn't know the repercussions to me giving the answers that I gave. I didn't know how or what preparation I was supposed to take prior to going to these different C&P exams or compensation and pension exams. I didn't know any of that stuff. But ultimately, when it came down to it, if I did know the information that I know now, I possibly wouldn't have had to go through the financial struggle that I went through. There was many different decisions that I probably would have made, whether it was with my military career, my family, the time I spent away trying to get all these different jobs. There was many things that took place that didn't have to take place, right? And that's what I'm getting at, right? So you're here for whatever reason that you're here. Right, you signed up, you've seen some company, another company is talking about helping veterans with their VA disability claim. I'll tell you right now, we're not the same as every other company, right? We're not going to force you to do anything that you shouldn't do. We're not going to even accept you. One, you want to do something you shouldn't do, but then two, you don't need us. And I'm gonna tell you that straight up. You don't need us based off of your situation. There's different situations, and I'll get into that later on, probably in the consultation or something like that. But when it comes down to it, you're here. Thank you for coming. I want to get you to a place to where you're supposed to be, right? I don't care if it's 10%. If that's where you're supposed to be, that's where you'll be, right? Based off of your symptoms, your circumstances. If you're 100%, that's where you're supposed to be, right? Or 50% and 90%. Sometimes that's what it is. It's extremely hard to get beyond the 80s and 90% because of the rating structure that you need in order to get that high. Bottom line, there's a process, right? In this process, you will be assigned a veteran coach. This veteran coach is experienced. They have all the information that I have. Either I taught them or they've been doing this as long as I have and are ready to help you, right? So the whole thing is we're a team. So if they don't know the information, they also have me no matter what, right? First thing that veteran coach is going to do is get some information from you. After they get that information, they're going to sit down with you in a strategy session and they're going to come up with a winning strategy for you, right? If there is no strategy for you, then they will let you know, right? And there's few situations where there's going to be no strategy. Main one is going to be if you don't have the symptom, you don't have the diagnosis, and it can't be related to what you already have and different things like that. But whatever the situation is, the whole thing is, as we go through this process, you're going to get coached, you're going to get a strategy session. After that strategy session, your coach is going to explain to you what that strategy is, right? To ensure that you are in agreement with that strategy. We'll find out what evidence you need for your claim, right? Whether that be a statement from yourself, from your spouse, from your loved ones, from your doctor, from your friends, family, from when you were in the military, whatever the situation is, or a Nexus letter doctor. We have some Nexus letter doctors that we refer our clients to, and very successful process, of course, with referring to a medical professional that's writing Nexus letters or DBQs. There's a cost up front with that. For us, there's not a cost up front at this moment, right? So you're coming in at a time where there's no cost up front for us. We operate in a way to where, one, we were trying to help as many veterans as possible. Obviously, there's a fee when things are associated with our help that comes in later, right? If you win your claim, what we charge is 4 times the monthly increase.